Hello and welcome. It is Crypto Day, Wednesday, 16th of May, 2018. Everything like always within your own risk, own reward. The one thing that I have learned firsthand through trading markets going back a decade is that when a great setup is in place and it doesn't occur, expect a fast move in the opposite direction. With that being said, it does seem as if the high probability for Bitcoin, Litecoin, and most likely the vast majority of cryptocurrencies to have a wave lower. And altcoins, like silver to gold generally, will have bigger percentage moves, up or down. So if Bitcoin has retracements in the area of 20% down against the dollar, you can expect other coins having 30, 40, 50% down moves against such. Now, that's not going to always be the case. And there's always going to be the individual ones that will still do well. With that being stated, we're looking at Litecoin first. This is a single hour chart, each one of these periods representing an hour. And I made a video yesterday stating that really this is the area in which was the must hold, and it didn't hold it. It would have worked out to the decent higher low, but the market came back down and came down here and it resisted this area of support, but then it got above, coming to this area here. However, it's given back this amount of move, like we see how 18's declining, this little pattern, break above it like that. That is a total bearish setup. When we scroll on through to a 400-minute time frame, the situation which you make this high, breaking above, well, no, that didn't really break above here. It retested it, but it did manage to make it down really low. That looked like a good bearish setup there, and it had a big green candle higher afterwards. But it did clearly break this level of resistance, which is fine to barely break it and then even have a successful 61.8% correction in around here. It didn't correct in around there. It's resisting there. Well, it's always correcting there, but it didn't correct a bullish move that was going down. And therefore, the 18 average, it didn't support it. We resisted it last period. And relatively early, but not so early in this one, it's just hanging in there, to say the least. On the daily chart, this is the typical pattern of the failed breakout that occurred after breaking a decent level of resistance in an uptrend. You don't break it by much, which oftentimes is fine and legs higher. But again, where do you want to correct? You want to correct in here somewhere at the lowest, but it didn't. This red candle followed by another one resisting this band, resisting this level of support, and red down, continue follow through right now. So the setups with this level of support being really big right now is quite hefty. And within the 3-day chart, that's what I was stating within the further decline, because we can see on the daily that it didn't find support like you would have liked, but I realized before there was all of this gap space, and technically speaking, it can still make this higher low, and I'm really unsure, of course, how it's going to manifest, as I'm going to talk about the decisions not being made yet and still got a little bit to go down. But any bearish move could very easily only go down to this previous area which it was at, Sorry about that. But it could come back to where it came from. The size of the leg passing the eye test would pass when you're looking at a move of about that size. So that could be it, and you could still have a successful bear move. Because when I talk about where's the likelihood to go from this failed breakout, I would say at least to this low. So that is still in play for that possibility. We look at this on a weekly chart. You can look at it, and there's only so much data in here, but I don't need the older data for this example anyway. So you have your uptrend. So now you can say you're neutral with an up bias, neutral with a down bias within this stage. Now, more so, of course, on the recent time frame, because these two green candles gave a lot of optimism. Not the first three green ones, because that just got us to the 18 average. But it did make it to the 18 highs, which can easily be resistance. It has been many times before. And if it just, like I stated at the start of the video, if a bearish setup doesn't happen, it can be quite an interesting move to the opposite direction. Because in a situation here, if it were to support and hold in around here, and we're looking at the weekly chart, so within the next 10, 12 days, so this period into the next, that if it were to have a spot of breaking above this 18 average of highs in here, then there'd only be two resistance questions to talk about. How is it going to handle this? Is it going to successfully find the higher low, or is it going to burst through it? Then we got this previous high, and then that's it for the correctionary move so far with this priced in the dollar. Let's next talk about Bitcoin. I'm not going to put the Bitcoin chart up yet, but I'm definitely going to change this time frame around. So we'll go back to the 3-day. And I'm going to change this exchange. I need more data than from before July. So let's insert the I can put the Fibonacci lines later on, but this is for drawing tool purposes. If Bitcoin falls to that 3,000 intended target, that would lose more than half of its value. So if this were to lose more than half of its value just to match, we'd be talking about $50, $60. And of course, it could even slide more. And there's, of course, the case of all of this empty space. Now, originally, within this move, or this time frame, you would have been looking at this little box in here, knowing this is really deep and this would be ideal. Now that you've had this level of support, you're looking at this as an upper area end, and maybe down towards here right now as a relatively deep correction. And may I remind you, $20 is that deep correction. Obviously, with high risk, high reward, I'm not going to say that's not mathematically possible. Because quite frankly, given the situation of world monetary economics, humans' interaction with information towards monetary economics, it wouldn't surprise me to the least if this thing were to have tremendous moves going forward, which means that either a break below $10, and who knows how much below that, or a break above a couple grand and more, and who knows above that, is in play. So high volatility, oh yeah. Let's now switch this up against, to put the lines in. Just some key numbers I'm looking at would be 93. Below that, I got a key number in at 67 and 40, but the market's obviously going to do what it's going to do. Let's switch this up to Bitcoin. And it has now reached levels not seen since April the 19th, almost 1 month. as it has now given back its entire breakout from then thereafter. When we look at this on the 60-minute time frame, we can see that, well, look at yesterday's move. Right in here, as it is hugging this 18 average as it was doing, down she goes. And then, of course, this rally. Noticeable green candle up 6 hours, no, 6 o'clock in the morning. 2 hours of consolidating its move and then instant rejection well lower than its support mark. That is, again, another signal that there's going to be at least one more leg lower, basically. And when we look at this on different time frames, like the 400, it's a situation in which you've had the support 511 on the 20-hour timestamp. There's your correction within the band, barely breaking above this resistance, all that kind of stuff. The higher high, the lower low, the higher high, and the lower low again. That can be a nasty fall because of that pattern in itself. Again, like I said, any major pattern that doesn't formit itself, doesn't manifest, can manifest a major one in the opposite direction. 79.72 does not pass the eye test for support. It can be a big congestion area later on, but I would expect that it would have a move at least down to 76, which is the bottom area for where the must hold is. Now, if it pierces below, goes to say 7,300 in a washout move, an hour later it's 77, that's not holding and staying below a certain area. And those types of moves can easily happen on a bullish level, or that is a bottom. But between the range of well below this Fibonacci line, which is why I'm saying around 76, and well above the 9,500, which is basically around 10,004, is the area in between that it is in making its decision. And when I've seen markets before in those types of what I call D-Day moments, I can oftentimes see massive up and down, choppy, big volatility within its neutral price zone, and of course in this case between 76 and over 10,000. Just quickly on the alts, because as we notice, Bitcoin is doing a little bit worse than Litecoin now. Well, Litecoin is just chopping around against Bitcoin, not losing, worse than it. In fact, it's losing a little less than Bitcoin today, as is the case with Ethereum. But Ethereum has been running wild for quite some time. So then, Litecoin is bearish against the dollar, as is Bitcoin. Ethereum against Bitcoin is very, very bullish right now. I like how after making this move, it supports this key Fibonacci level, then the green candle move up on May 13th, and then 3 days going sideways. How does this look against the US dollar? Let's take a look. And it's neutral within its correctionary mode. So it's almost like, okay, Bitcoin, what are you going to do? If you're ready to go higher, I'll break above this level of resistance, and I got this level here to test, and I got this level to test, and we'll get this done. Of course, that's meaning if Bitcoin and Litecoin do have that rally, this could have an interesting one that might follow it. But it also means that if Litecoin and Bitcoin start to sell off, that will probably fill some of this empty space within Litecoin, or excuse me, within Ethereum. Decent chance, if the move is volatile, that we would see even a little bit of retracement in here, as well as it would not surprise me to see a situation where like Bitcoin's down 15% and Ethereum's down 20 or something, or 18, 19%. Let's move on to PayPi, or 10x pay token. And when moves like this happen, it's just amazing. Like, in fact, I'm going to be soon ready to buy this back, as I see it's been pulling back over the last little while. I did sell a little bit above. I didn't sell. I was sleeping here, so no. This is frustrating for me as a trader, but I mean, you take it, I guess, because this occurs at 6:45 when I got my eyes closed and I'm sleeping in my bed, and then you wake up like around here. I think I've sold somewhere here, and that's it. And I've only made the one trade. I probably sold around 18 handle. Probably around 7:30, 7:45. Actually, well before that, because I put my 4-minute morning video barely after 8. And I already finished all my trades I needed to do at that point. But there's always going to be these codes that are going to have its moves. Right now, this one's doing it. ZEC is actually continuing its uptrend, extending its move higher against Bitcoin. And the biggest loser that I'm holding anyway is REP, only down 5%. And on the daily time frame, I didn't get as much of this gain that I would have liked to have gotten. But it's fun to trade this on the buy low, sell high strategy. Actually, it's not fun, but it gets the job done. But if you've been trading stuff like Bitcoin against the dollar with the strategy that I talk about, obviously it was sell order city for the last part of the year. Buy order city down to this low. Little bit of selling. Small buy, small sell, small buy, more buying, maybe a sell. If you sold here, maybe you buy back. If you didn't sell there, you wouldn't buy here. But either way, you're going to be buying some in here. You're going to be selling in here. If you bought back in here, you sold in here, and then you buy. It's a tough sell. We'll say you didn't get it. But you buy, then you're selling, and well, I guess we're going to be starting the buyback if that's, of course, the type of strategy that you're doing. And I'm not doing that consistently against Bitcoin, but I'm doing that with so many of these altcoins against Bitcoin. But in trading strategies like that, it's never caring short term where the market's going. You want to pick coins that you feel long term have very good potential to either go up or chop up and down nicely on a sideways move, either or for this strategy. And then just keep on making trades based on what the market does. Because if you're in the vote where, say you sold here, and then you bought somewhere in here, now either the market's going to come down here where you're going to fill a buy order, or you got a sell order maybe somewhere up here, and that's going to fill. And then you just keep on filling. So if it goes up to here, okay, I'll look to buy somewhere back here, or I'll look to put another sell order here, so on and so forth. Okay, let's just take a quick look at a few other things. I see that the Canadian dollar is up 0.2% against the US. Is this even worth commenting on? Well, let's see. Nothing too exciting there. Silver had a down day yesterday. When I woke up this morning, it was just hanging in there doing nothing. Right now, it's up 6.5 cents. I end up buying 52 ounces of silver last night. I did so because of the concern of the possible worst case scenario of cryptocurrencies, thus a form of tail risk. Silver's down a little bit too. So I got a 1 kilo coin and 20 single ounce bars. And they should arrive either Friday or Monday on my doorstep. But nothing real too exciting, because this has been in a long-standing decisionary mode. I'm not going to talk any more about this in this video. TUSD I talked about in the 4-minute morning. I don't know how it managed to be so profitable for so long. If you look at this on the 15-minute time frame, this is just crazy. Who was buying this. Literally, whether they bought this on this exchange or whether they bought it on the Tether exchange. If you held any, it was just a good idea to sell. Now you can buy it back. If you look at this against the US dollar Tether, it is back to where it should be. At least it was 20 minutes ago, and it looks like it still should be now. And there we have it. So 1.02. It's still barely higher than what it should be worth, meaning it's went from an exceptional sell opportunity to, well, normally 2.5% is pretty good. I guess the intent is people buying this on Bittrex with the intent of moving it to Binance. But what's the whole point? You can just... I know you need to have supply there, and I guess that's what they're doing. Maybe this was just the Binance people or whoever. I don't know. I would always think that if you say you're going to open it, you start... And I've never ever seen how a new market opens on the exchange. I would only think that you'd have to start by having deposit options for a couple of days, which means they're opening the market in 2 days. They allow you to deposit the funds for today, so you have a couple of days to get supply in there, and then you open up the markets. And it really shouldn't be doing this, but I thought this was very, very interesting, because when I was looking at the top losers earlier in the day, I seen that TUSD was up like 15 or 20% or 30%. I'm like, okay, what the heck is just at the F's just going on with Bitcoin? And then I realized something fishy was going on. It didn't take me long to find out that, of course, Binance added this to their exchange. Okay. All right, so that will be it. I don't think there's anything else more that I really need to cover. I mean, everything's just going to remain very volatile within these markets. You can see codes like this. This has been fun to sell on the way up, buy on the way down, sell on the way up, and I'm buying this back again. This is just Power Ledger. This is a random code. A lot of them to me are. I do understand where people talk about the anti-cryptocurrencies, where these are just Ponzi schemes. These are really backed by nothing. These are like, how can you say these if they have, well, they'll say no value. And I'll say, well, a spreadsheet would have value. Any type of software for a computer with amazing use case, like an operating system, has big value. But how much value does it have? Is Windows worth $75,000 or $800 or whatever insane number you want? Well, that's up for judgment. But are the coins that they make, are they way overpriced when it's all said and done? And I say the word maybe, which is why when I look at asset choices long term, these cryptos are going to go wild. And I said with Litecoin, it's either going to go way below 10 or way above many thousands. And fiat currencies, I do not trust on the long term. That only leaves silver for me in the physical commodity. But the game is realizing that cryptocurrencies very well may work. There is a lot of good reasons and cases for how they are so much superior than fiat currencies as it in itself, that the great collapse of cryptocurrencies may not take place until well after a fiat currency collapse and well after magnificent gains come into place. So many different variables are going to come into play. I do not have a time machine, so I don't have the luxury of going to the year 2065 and taking a few documents, bringing them back, and letting you know some winners. If I could, I probably wouldn't, though. Anyway, take care and have yourself a great day. Bye-bye.